This video is to show how to replace the canister inside the AprilAire 800 series. So the very first thing that we do is turn off the power. And so after you hit the power button, you'll notice that the drain button is flashing. That means that it's going to flush some water through the system and then drain all of the water out. And this usually can take up to 4 minutes. So you just wait for all that water to come out, and then this will turn off. Okay, you'll notice the drain light turned off. So now the next thing that we do, now that everything is drained out of the humidifier, is you need to kill the power to the unit. And so if your unit is like mine, you can just unplug it like this. If it's wired in, you'll need to go to the breaker to turn it off. The next step is to loosen the screw at the bottom of the cover. And now the cover just slides up and off. Also, if your humidifier was recently running, this is going to be really hot. The last time I did this, it was so hot I couldn't touch it. I had to wait for a few minutes for it to cool down. This one is hot, but it wasn't used that recently, so I can touch it without being burned. So just be careful about the temperature of this. The next thing that you do is you remove these electrodes. They just pull straight up. You don't need to keep track of which one's which. There's no polarity, so they can reattach to either one. And then you also remove this yellow wire. Next thing we need to do is loosen this hose clamp screwdriver. Get that nice and loose so that it will slide off the top. Okay, and then the next part is to remove the steam hose. And so just kind of work that off. You may get some water dripping down a little bit. And now that everything is disconnected, you can remove the old canister. You'll notice this canister is really nasty. It should have been changed a while ago, but you want to change these once a year. And a lot of times the service light will come on. It'll start flashing if there's about 75% reduced capacity, or if it's on permanently, it can mean that it needs to change or that it needs to be serviced by a professional. So you'll see this looks pretty nasty. The next step is to look down inside the hose assembly, make sure there's no debris that needs to be cleaned out in there. And this one looks fine. Also okay, you can see it. There's a red O-ring inside here. You need to remove that ring. And I'm actually going to grab a screwdriver to get it out. Sometimes these O-rings you'll be able to just pull them right out with your fingernail, but sometimes they're harder to get out, and so I just have a little screwdriver to kind of pry it out a little bit till I can get my finger under it, and then that comes out. So these get replaced every time you replace the canister. Your new canister will come with a brand new O-ring, and the manual recommends that you get it wet. So I'm just going to dip it in some water to get a better seal, and then you just slide it into the little groove that's in the top of this piece. Okay, make sure that that's in there good, so that when I push in the new canister it stays in place. Okay. Okay, so here is the new canister, and I'll put a link in the down below of where I ordered this. I just got it through Amazon. It was real easy. Also, I like to write on here when I actually replaced it, so I put today's date, and also you'll notice that it has this kind of insert at the top. You remove that. This just reminds you to replace the electrodes every 3 years. And so now we're going to install this. You want to, before you do want to check on the bottom to make sure that there is a strainer. I don't know if you can, I guess you can kind of see that. Make sure that there is a strainer installed. These do pull out, so make sure that it didn't fall out in the box or something. Okay, and that, just make sure that that slides all the way down, and that looks good. Now we put the steam hose on, make sure that goes all the way down, and now I'm going to tighten this clamp up. Just turning that to make the screw head convenient for next year, and get that nice and tight. Give that a tug and make sure that that's secure, which it is. And now we will reattach electrodes, and again, these can go on either side. There's no polarity, so you don't need to keep track of which one's which or anything like that. Make sure those are on there good. And then now the yellow wire reattaches on the front. Now, the last thing that we do here before we get the power going is put the cover back on. It just slides down in. And tighten up the screw on the bottom to hold that in place. Now I'll plug this back in. And now that we've got power back in the humidifier, I will turn that on. And it will now start to fill with water. And so you'll want to keep an eye on this a little bit while it is filling up. You want to make sure that there's no water leaking out of the bottom or anywhere else. And that's it. That's how to replace the canister, and you should be good for about 1 year.